Well, howdy, howdy, howdy. Nearly senior citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non-binary friends. And remember, no matter who you are valid. And I keep having to slouch into my chair so that the top of my head doesn't keep going off the top at the angle that I've got my tablet. I am really slouching, so if I look like I weigh 5,000 pounds, it's because my knees are almost underneath the tablet as I record. Yay. Thumbs up and welcome to a brand new day. Not much has happened since yesterday. I have, well, done not much. I have just been basically wasting this day. You know, I have entered the magpie portion of my life where I'm just looking at interesting things and collecting shiny rocks. But then, you know, that's pretty much the phase for all of us, no matter what you may think of life. I mean, you go, gosh, you know, look at all this stuff I've collected, and I go to work every day, and yeah, tear open an anthill or, you know, a termite mound. You know, the ants are running around just like we do, and they have their jobs. Yay! Such is life. But I have not done much. The thing that irritated me the most last night is these buildings are pretty well made, apparently, because we've had a weather advisory because it's been so cold, right around freezing. Last night, I had my fan on as far as it goes. I had my windows open. I mean, they're constantly open, about this far at the bottom. And I had to have only a sheet on my bed because it was too warm otherwise. Yay! So I didn't sleep well because I was just way too hot last night. We did talk about some of the things, suddenly remembering, at our house meeting we had on Friday. Not house meeting, you know, community meeting, where we live in a community here in the, you know, veterans community area. And so we have a community meeting. And one of the things was, depending on how your buildings are made, there is supposed to be provisions for like a backyard. So if you have an area, there's supposed to be X number of feet in the back of the unit for the person who is in the unit to use. Trying to stay centered in these bloody chairs that I have. But because these are quad units in one building, there are no backs. The back of each unit is the middle of the building. So there is no back to any building for there to be a back for people to go to. So thumbs up on that. I mean, they are nice and they're new. And I mean, some parts of it are cheap. You can tell they're cheap. I had to lean, several parts of the wall I've had to lean against for emergencies. I've mentioned before that because of my medications and such, I get dizzy periodically. And sometimes I have had to put out my hands to catch myself from going down. And some of that drywall, it just goes, whoa, in pretty hard. So I gotta be careful with that. And just the other day, this was great. I ended up on the floor. My chair ended up across the room, and I'm amazed that the table that I got back there didn't break in the middle. No matter how I tried to stop myself, I still went all the way down. So I mentioned that as a fall risk, having already fallen, I'm not using my walker as much as I should. And I have gone on the trail by the stream that goes through the forest here, where it gets slick if it's wet. And during this rainy period, I went, of course without my walker, charging along the trail. I am a fall risk. This is not a good trail. I am smart. I'm starting to take my phone with me more often, just in case something happens. I mean, you get, even if you don't pay for a phone, you can get 911 service on it. Or, you know, depending on which country you live in, it's not 911, but it's the emergency phone call. You know, whichever number combination it happens to be for where you live. So I've got my phone with me sometimes when I go out walking. And the front of my hair just really curls forward anymore. So now I'm playing with my hair while I'm talking. Let's see if I can remember what I was talking about. So yeah, I've been out there just charging around, all around Shelton in the nighttime when it's hard to see. And I've got astigmatism, so it makes it harder to see at night. Yay! I mean, I've got good night vision. I have excellent night vision, but I have astigmatism, and so it's not good when there's a light thing. Because when I'm walking along this one section of the sidewalk, before I get to the major part of town where there's a lot of street lights, my eyes can adapt to the point that a green light at a stoplight, a block and a half behind me, provides more than enough light for me to see the sidewalk in front of me for 2-3 blocks, almost enough that I feel like I can read, but of course I wouldn't be able to. And then of course if a car comes along this direction, I am blind. I am completely blind. There's just lines and blurs, and it's just, sometimes if they hit me just right, it's just a fog. All I get is a fog. I have a lot of floaters in my eyes. Floaters are because you have vitreous and aqueous humors in your eyes, because your eye is chambered into two parts with your iris. Well, it's your lens, I think, is the divider point. So you got the, I can't remember which one's which, but you got one type of fluid in the front, and then there's the lens, then there's, and then there's the other type of fluid. But it's less of a fluid and more of like jello, and it can detach or fracture or pull apart. And when you do that, you get little floaty lines in your eyes, and that's just little reflections or breaks or splits, cracks in the jelly in your eyes. And sometimes when the light comes in, it hits the jelly inside my eye just right, so it just all lights up like a fog inside of my eye. Yay! But yeah, moving my eyes around, just looking up, down, there's all these little bits and pieces that move around just with my eye movements, because it's in the jelly of my eyes. On the whole, though, it largely doesn't bother me. I notice it, and then when I just go, yeah, gosh, damn, there's a lot of floaters. That should probably bother me. And then I go back to ignoring them, and they don't bother me. So I guess I'm pretty lucky that way. Yay. So hopefully as well, if you do watch my videos, whether it's the solo gaming videos or the computer gaming stuff videos, if you did watch the Iron Helm video yesterday, hopefully you enjoyed it. I, of course, made mistakes and was confused, but, and I continue to stress this, they say in the book Troublesome Towns for the game Far Against Darkness, you can't play the game wrong. If you're playing the game, you are playing it right. Doesn't matter if you change the rules or you forget rules, the way you're playing it is the right way. So I forget stuff, but I'm still having fun. So even though I had some points of confusion, because the rules are written to be very small to fit into a tiny little notebook. They didn't make the notebook big enough to fit the rules. They had to fit the rules onto enough stuff to make the tiny notebook. Just like the instructions for Tin Helm were on a bunch of tiny, same size note cards. They had to limit the number of rules to fit on the cards. Otherwise, they'd have more cards for the rules than for the game. So, yay. Past that, just surviving. As stated, haven't done much today, just been watching videos, wasting time. I still have to go walkies, of course, purchase some food. I do have some food, I do have some drink, I don't have to go out for that. But I was talking with my sister this morning. She was talking about how she was going out and shoveling snow. She lives in a different state, Utah, and they snow there. It snows there, and so they were shoveling snow. And I mentioned how, yeah, I miss the one bad part about having my apartment here and my tiny little studio is the bathroom. I've mentioned this before. Bathroom's right there, 4 steps away. Bed's right there, 2 steps away. I can move in my chair, microwave, just two feet back over in this direction, and then my computer's right there. I don't really have to move. And oh my God, that's awful. Because last place I lived in, even in Port Orchard, 2nd story. If I could have been moving around without my walker, I could have used the stairs. And the last place I lived before that, before being priced out of it, I lived on the 2nd floor. So to go to the bathroom, I had to go down to the 1st floor. I wanted something to eat, had to go down to the 1st floor. Wanted to go outside, had to go down to the 1st floor. Now if I want to go outside, 3 steps in that direction, I'm outside. I have to go to the bathroom, 3 steps in that direction, I'm there. I want to eat something, I have to turn around in my chair. And every place that I want to go is a lot closer. It is getting out to get walkies like I used to is harder. But even though I'm getting less exercise, you only need to get 2.5 hours of moderate exercise every week, or X number of hours, I can't remember the number, of mild exercise. A moderate exercise is race walking. Walking a mile in 20 minutes, 3 miles an hour. If you can do that, that is moderate exercise. Do 2.5 hours of that in a week, and you have fulfilled your minimum of exercise to keep your body moderately healthy. And so that's what I've been trying to do for a couple of years now. Oh, I've spent most of my life sedentary. I got a lot of stuff that I'm trying to fix up and make up for. Especially since with my alcoholism, I look a lot older than the 61 years I am. Such is life. That's because alcoholism ages your body. So be careful with alcohol, please. I am hopefully, and hopefully soon, going to be oh my gosh, my nose is just itching like crazy. And it's like I got a traveling hair. I'm going to be hopefully going back to reactions here pretty soon, and that would be a good thing. There's a lot of music that I want to react to. There's a lot of stuff that I can react to. Of course, the last time I had to stop was I almost had a stroke from taking Ritalin, and my blood pressure went up to 200 over 100. Not good. So yeah, that was bad. I had to stop taking that. Things fell apart inside my head afterward, and then things started going bad in the house, where things are going bad in the house, and I was worrying if am I going to lose it, and then yeah, it was going to be coming, but when's the hammer going to fall? And then the hammer fell, and then I got to be homeless, and I think things are finally settling down enough that I can get feeling safer up here. Because the first time I stopped doing reactions was because I had started doing them because of trying to survive the death of my wife. And then I had reached the point where before, drop the armor, let the song in, react, put my armor back up. Because I had been talking with my therapist, things were starting to work more properly. So when I let the armor down, stuff from in here was pouring out that way, and the song couldn't get in. Well, I think I'm at the point where if I drop the armor down to let the song in, I can let the song in. It's not just going to be everything trying to come out this way. There's room for the song to come in. Therapy has been a miracle. I need to call the Veterans Administration because they suck, so I can get my therapy paid for. Joy on that. Still though, life is life. The only thing I've been doing is trying to think creatively. And I try to do that at all times whenever I've got a brief moment trying to think on my creative stuff. And when I'm out walking, there ain't nothing else to do but think on a creative level. So I do my best to do that. Of course, I'm back to the point where I was before taking Ritalin, where I can think of 100 things. But when you have ADHD, you don't have a pause track, and it is so hard to remember things. I can think of 100 things, and when I come back, I can remember 5. So it takes a long time to try and work again. But I'm doing my best, especially after everything that's been going on, and with my head starting to settle down now, trying to really work on things inside my head and getting the setting working again, which I've never let stop. And when I say working again, I just mean keeping my head working on it, which I have been. Here, I'm going to talk about this part, because there are, in my setting, I talk about a relatively small number of cryptids, especially in Brookerton, South Carolina, which has, it's the fictional city of Brookerton, 1.5 million people, which is in an insane amount of people, because the other largest city in South Carolina, the actual largest one, is like 120,000 people. So 1.5 million is pretty big. That's why it's the fictional city of Brookerton. Try to remember what I was talking about, because the whole ADHD thing. Because I've been thinking about my characters, yes, and there are so many. I only speak of a relatively small number. There are 8 billion human beings in the world. There are many, many more cryptids in the world than there are human beings. And of the cryptids that we deal with, yeah, even though they tend to devour each other with a much greater frequency than they devour humanity, there's always more, because in the cryptid world, there's always more. I mean, on the inside, there's effectively 1,000 square kilometers for every square kilometer. On the razor's edge, there's effectively 1 million square kilometers for every square meter. In the cryptid world, it's about 100 square miles for every square mile. The cryptid part of Brookerton, South Carolina is far, far different than the actual what we see part of Brookerton, South Carolina. Any city is like that. If I could see the cryptid Shelton, it is much, much larger than the actual Shelton. And the population of cryptids that you can see is far greater than what you can actually detect, because you have to have your cryptid presence high enough to be able to detect other cryptids with a high cryptid presence. To put it in gamified terms again, if you are a human being and you have a cryptid presence between 50 and 0, you have nothing. You cannot detect or interact with the cryptid world in any way. Once you break 50, your extra universal organs start to wake up, and you start to interact with the cryptid world, and you can see it. But between 50 and 60, you're not seeing much, and you can largely ignore the cryptid world. But once you get up above 60, you start losing your ability to meaningfully interact with the normal world. Those people with an extremely low cryptid presence, you can no longer really deal with. You can no longer see them any more than they can see you. And the higher your presence is, the less there is of the normal natural world for you to interact with, and there's more of the cryptid world for you to interact with. Both with individuals of human level intelligence and greater, but also animals, plants, and the larger world as it opens up, and you get that 100 square miles per square mile cryptid world. So it's a pretty bizarre place, and as your cryptid presence goes up, it's stated you lose your ability to interact, but as your cryptid presence goes up as well, you also do interact with much, much more. There are 3 basic levels to... Well, there are 3 different cryptid levels of the world. There's a cryptid layer where kind of the gods are. There's the cryptid world that all cryptids are working to have their next generation try to live in. And then there's down here where it's closer to the natural world. And that's split up into 3 parts, the upper, middle, and lower. And down here, we're in the lower part of it. It's considered crafts and material and base by those cryptids that are trying to work their way up to the generations that direction to the cryptid world up above. So most cryptids that do live down here are aware that they're living in the lower, kind of slumming. But that's only about 2% of cryptids understand that. The rest are just living as most cryptids have for the last couple 100,000 years. Just a little better than animals as their parents have. Thumbs up for that. There's a whole bunch of cryptid stuff, and I want to talk about that and more of my setting. I'd love to write it all in a book. I wish I could. If I broke it down into a series of videos again, it would be hours long. And that's just talking about the cryptid world. So thumbs up for that. For all of my Patreon patrons, soon, once again, I'm going to be putting your names up here on my list. I promise you that. But until I do that, thank you so much. You know who you are. And you are beautiful and awesome people. It is appreciated. For each person that leaves me comments, again, it too is beautiful and awesome. Thumbs up and thank you. I try to answer as many comments in the comments as I can. For those that I can't, I try to answer in video, and for those that I can't, just be aware. I do read every single comment, and I appreciate each one. I thumbs up or heart every single comment that I read, and I read them all. Thumbs up for that. So yay! I'm going to continue just surviving. I'm going to watch some videos. Maybe I'm going to be able to record Outpath tonight. But it's getting late, so we shall see. I've got to find my executive function and dysfunction to do anything, and that sucks. So yay. So until we meet again, you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side. And if you've watched this far, thumbs up. Thank you very much. Let me know in the comments if you have. And I will see you on the flip side. So yeah, I will see you. And again, even though this is not how you stop recording, I like doing it this way anymore.